Congressman Paul, yet another question about electability. Do you have any, sir? There's always the question as to whether or not you are, in fact, viable. Your differences...
Ron Paul is a no one.
Ron Paul really has no business being on stage.
What's success for you in this campaign?
What's success? Well, to win is one is the goal.
That's not going to happen.
Do you know for absolute? Are you willing to bet your every cent in your pocket for that?
Yes.
You're basically saying that we should take our marching orders from Al-Qaeda. If they want us off the Arabian Peninsula, we should leave?
No! We should take our marching orders from our Constitution.
Ron Paul cannot get elected, I'm sorry to tell you. He has just zero chance of getting elected. You have to win an election.
Deficit financing, big government, more taxes, more bureaucracy, more regulations, more policing the world.
What are you guys talking about, you know?
So many people say, oh, Ron Paul, he's crazy. That guy's crazy. And it's because they don't understand. And the reason that they don't understand is because they're getting all their news from the TV.
I will promise you this, that if we have not gotten our troops out by the time I am president, it is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home. We will bring an end to this war. You can take that to the bank.
For decades, we libertarians have been dismissed as a collection of naive crackpots who want government to be so limited that no serious politicians would call us anything but fringe. Some people still say that. But these days, there are more libertarians for them to contend with. Libertarians were a big part of the Tea Party, and now more politicians talk about cutting spending. Imagine that. And the one man who's probably done more than anyone to make that happen is Congressman and potential Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul.
He wants to bring the troops home now and end America's involvement in 5 bloody, expensive, and immoral wars across the globe. And if this champion of personal freedom were able to persuade Congress and the American people of the virtues of limited government, and that it's the only moral and practical solution for a free people and a free society, guess what your income tax bill would be? 0. He's sick and tired of all the money printed and perpetrated by the Federal Reserve that's literally stealing money right out of your bank account. Washington once said that liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Our first guest tonight is living proof of that.
This country is in a revolution. They're sick and tired of what they're getting, and I happen to be lucky enough to be part of it.
We are resisting an occupation we once risked our lives for. We swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, but we found out the hard way that the greatest enemies of the Constitution are not to be found in the sands of some far-off land, but rather right here at home.
Ideas spread. They can't stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army or any government.
Don't give up. Don't retreat into cynicism. Even if we don't win, life is about fighting for something.
I watched the Republican debate, and I saw this guy, Ron Paul. He's my new hero.
Start the clock.
What he was saying was we should listen to our enemies. We would actually make ourselves safer. You just never heard this logic from someone who's actually going to run the country. Got Ben Affleck here. They're screaming for Ron Paul.
House floor about the U.S. military's efforts in Afghanistan, quote, whose interests do we serve by continuing this exercise in futility? So if President Paul had been running things and troops were already out of Afghanistan, wouldn't that mean that Osama bin Laden would be alive today?
Absolutely not. I mean, he wasn't caught in Afghanistan. Nation building in Afghanistan and telling those people how to live and getting involved in running their country hardly had anything to do with finding the information where he was being held in a country that we give billions of dollars of foreign aid to. At the same time, we're bombing that country. So it's the policy that's at fault. No, not having the troops in Afghanistan wouldn't have hurt. But we went to Afghanistan to get him, and he hasn't been there. Now that he's killed, boy, it is a wonderful time for this country now to reassess it and get the troops out of Afghanistan and end that war that hasn't helped us and hasn't helped anybody in the Middle East.
Mr. King.
Congressman Paul, you say that we should cut off all foreign aid to the Middle East and, quote, let them take care of themselves. You say the prison at Guantanamo should be closed, that the detainees there have not been given due process. Governor Paletti said a couple of months ago that bullies respect strength, not weakness. Is Governor Paletti wrong?
Well, I think strength is good, but you have to have strength in doing the right things. I think secret military prisons, keeping people there for years and years without due process, is not a characteristic of a republic that believes in freedom. It is just not the process. It's more typical of an authoritarian government to have secret prisons. So therefore, I don't think it serves our purpose. We have tried nearly 300 suspects in civilian courts, and hundreds of them have been convicted and put away. So why are we afraid of openness? Why do we have to move in the direction of giving up the right of habeas corpus, which someday, if we're not careful, will affect American citizens? We should treat people the way we think we might be treated under dire circumstances. And our dire circumstances are moving right along because we may have real trouble in this country and we may be subject to the same type of treatment. So we do not need secret prisons, nor do we need the torture that goes on in these secret military prisons.
I want to follow up on...
Most of the money that comes from all these lawsuits when they're suing doctors.
Thank you, Congressman.
Chairman, thank you.
Congressman Paul, you routinely vote against raising the debt limit. Would you let the country go into default, which all the experts agree will only make continued borrowing even more expensive for the U.S. government, and you want to cut government spending, you say, by 50%, eliminating everything from the Federal Reserve to the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah. Under your plan, what would you leave for the federal government to do?
Yeah, I'd sort of like to follow the Constitution, and then we wouldn't have these kind of problems. You have a government that provides national defense, but you don't have militarism and you police the world. Maybe we could take care of some people back here at home if we weren't spending $1.5 trillion a year on our militarism. That money needs to be spent back at home, and we would have more defense, not less defense. So I don't see why we should raise the national debt. You say we'll default. Probably not. They have money coming in. They can patch it over and pay it, but that's the only way our country has defaulted 3 different times. They promised at one time during the Civil War to pay in gold. They refused to. In the 30s, they promised to pay in gold. They refused to. And then in 1971, they promised to pay foreigners in gold. We defaulted, and we stuck it to them. So once again, we're going to default. We're defaulting every single day. That's what your prices are doing. Prices go up. They're defaulting on your money. So we need to look at the Federal Reserve System.
Dr. Paul, and all the rest of us, let's get the revolution going.
defied the whole world year after year after year after year, and he keeps getting reelected in landslides.
Ron Paul has touched a nerve. America is trying to find its way back.
Ron has not just talked the talk, he's walked the walk.
I can't think of anybody else besides Ron Paul who actually means what he says.
What I liked about Ron Paul is that it hadn't been about politics, it's been about principle.
But he really has demonstrated that people want freedom, not goodies from government. Ron Paul's a candidate of common sense.
All politicians lie, right? I mean, we all expect that. That's the norm. So when you come upon somebody like Ron Paul, who's actually a man of truth and a man of integrity, then you know there's something different, even if you might not agree with him.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Paul, my name is Nathan Cox. I'm from Virginia, and I wanted to start off by saying that you, a lot of people say that you cured their apathy, and you cured mine while I was in Baghdad in 07-08, and I wanted to say thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Wait a second. You're in Baghdad fighting. He's saying you shouldn't be there, and that cured your apathy?
Yes, sir. I had a friend of mine from Texas who told me to check out what Ron Paul was saying while I was over there, and I started YouTubing the presidential debates that were going on over there, and everything that you said, sir, just made sense. And I started buying your books, and I started sharing that with my peers.
You know, when the campaign was going on 4 years ago, that subject, of course, came up, and it turned out that in that primary race, I got more support from the military people than all the rest put together, which made me feel good. And you know, I'm not surprised because at first I said, oh boy, that's great, that's a little surprising, but then I got thinking, you know, I was in the military for 5 years.
I think everybody's bewildered in the whole political arena right now, going, how did this happen? And how come I can't make this happen to my campaign?
This is happening without your campaign people coordinating. This is completely about grassroots, and it's completely about you just saying what you believe in.
But there is no denying the fact that Ron Paul has an energetic following in the Granite State.
And I'll tell you what, I am convinced that the spirit of liberty is alive and well in New Hampshire.
Telling the crowd that the federal government has lost its way, the 75-year-old doctor questioned everything from the war on drugs to the war on terror.
Should the strength of the president be directed toward building the TSA and Homeland Security and policing the world? No, the strength and the character of the individual should be directed towards standing up for freedom, standing up for liberty, and restraining government. That's where the strength should be.
Paul's remarks brought the crowd inside Exeter Town Hall to its feet several times. And it wasn't just a local crowd either, as Bill Walsh made the trip from Maine to hear Paul speak.
I think you got some good ideas of turning the country back the way it should be.
I think it's a change. I think we need it. And I think he's got it, and I hope we can go someplace.